Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the second keynote of today's European AI Policy Conference. I am with Tabitha Goldstaub, Chair of the UK Government's AI Council and co-founder of CognitionX. CognitionX, CogX, is a platform that enables thousands of thought leaders to host their own public or private live video sessions and build interactive, meaningful conversation with their audience. And I really recommend the newsletter. Alongside CogX, Tabitha is the chair of the UK Government's AI Council and a member of the Tech UK board. Tabitha is a serial entrepreneur. She was the co-founder of a video distribution company, Writester, and she's an advocate for increased diversity. She's the author of How to Talk to Robots, a girl's guide to a world dominated by AI. She's also a co-founder of Future Girl Corp, and she's an advisor to Teens in AI, and so much more. We are thrilled to have you with us today, Tabitha, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. What an amazing morning. Not only is it actually rarely sunny here, my office is streaming, but it's an amazing morning to talk about AI policy. Yesterday, DeepMind, who needs no introduction, announced they'd applied AI to the grand challenge, a protein folding problem, which will have some real impact on disease understanding of drug discovery. This is the perfect example of why government needs to support AI development. The promises of AI being able to solve challenges humans are unable to is really coming to fruition. My journey into AI policy started 5 years ago, which may seem relatively recent for many of you who started at the forefront of this technology in the 60s. For me, it all started in 2017, when as part of the industrial strategy, the UK government commissioned an independent review into AI. Team Wendy Hall and Jerome Pesenti, who you have speaking later today, were appointed to deliver this review. I, an entrepreneur and co-founder of CogX, which is a platform for thought leaders, was eager to support them, and I lent in, really just sort of turned up at every meeting, seeing my role as bringing more views from the community into the process. The review was published in October, and it contains several significant recommendations to improve access to data, improve the supply of skills, to maximize UK AI research, and to support uptake of AI. Based on this feedback, the government announced the $1 billion AI sector deal and set up 3 bodies to help deliver on these commitments. The first was the Office for AI, which was created as a team of amazing civil servants driving that sector deal. The second, the Centre for Data Ethics and Innovation, an independent advisory body set up to investigate and advise on how to maximize the benefits of AI and data-driven technologies ethically. And the AI Council, which I am the chair. The council is made up of the UK's brightest thinkers who were willing and able to support the government in an independent way to advise and connect people to bring the sector deal to life and to horizon scan. This year, the AI Council pivoted its focus to aiding the response to COVID-19, including standing up weekly crisis meetings with expert stakeholders across government to discuss how the AI ecosystem could both support and would need to be supported in the response. We highlighted the needs of the tech sector and the AI startups ecosystem and fed in our insights that contributed to create a package of national support for some of the most innovative tech companies to ride out the worst of the pandemic. While the UK has, like many other countries, applied AI to contribute to our pandemic response, the impact of COVID-19 on AI is really yet to be fully assessed. We need to address these lessons as we think about how to develop AI further and ensure it's useful in urgent situations like this pandemic. The AI Council is considering this big question and other fundamental questions for how the tech can grow, and are about to publish an AI roadmap in which we call for the UK government to commit to a national AI strategy. It's crucial to get this right, not only for all reasons of the UK, but also in partnership with our neighbours in Europe. This report will have 2 underlying messages. The first is that we need to double down on recent investment the UK has made in AI. And the second message is that we must look to the horizon and be adaptable to disruption. Support for AI needs to reflect the rapid pace and evolution of the science and technology and its applications. This means staying at the forefront of the development of AI and integrating approaches to ethics, security, social implications, not just for the next 2 or 3 years, but for the next 10 to 50 years. And we believe that countries will only feel these full benefits if all parts of society have full confidence in the science and the technologies, and in governance and regulations that enable them. That confidence will depend on the existing systems that ensure full accountability, clear ethics, and transparency. In addition to this, developing the best science and the most robust applications requires a commitment to ambitious skills program and an investment in talent, one that promotes cutting-edge skills and does so in a way that makes the AI sector accessible in ways that are more diverse and inclusive. As such, and given the breadth and significance of potential AI applications, the roadmap is concerned with overcoming the challenges of enabling this change. This is not a strategy document. We set out suggested directions across 3 pillars. Number 1, research, development, and innovation. Number 2, skills and diversity. And number 3, data infrastructure, and of course, public trust. And then in the final section, we address some specific measures to support adoption in key areas of health, climate, and defense. We make 16 recommendations for government to explore and prioritize when they come to their strategy, from scaling up public sector investment into the fundamentals of AI research and committing to a 10-year program in skill building, all the way through to committing to achieving AI and data literacy for everybody. The section on adoption focuses on both increasing buyer confidence at public sector and private sector level, as well as supporting the AI startup vendor ecosystem. In the adoption section, we point specifically to how AI can support the NHS to deliver the best healthcare, support the challenge of reaching net zero carbon emissions, and keeping the country safe and secure. We all know that AI innovation relies on data, and so there's a very large section which recommends consolidating and accelerating the infrastructure and governance needed to increase access to robust, diverse data sets. As I said, none of this is possible without public trust. And so there's a section where we describe how this is enabled through public scrutiny. And so I was excited to see von der Leyen, Vestager, and Breton's vision in the Commissioner's February white paper on ethical AI. The UK has yet to respond officially, but I must say I'm looking forward to seeing the legislative proposal in the first quarter of next year. As I understand it, the regulation is intended to promote ethical AI and address perceived problems around discriminatory algorithms, transparency, and human oversight of AI. High-risk AI applications such as driverless cars, how to determine liability in the event of an accident involving AI, and all of the challenges that come with facial recognition technology by public authorities. Now, we all know that the hurdles are going to be that some people are going to believe that this has gone too far and might stifle innovation, and others are going to believe that it's not gone far enough. The UK is committed to working with Europe regardless, being a valuable leader in the responsible deployment of AI, balancing pro-growth, pro-innovation economy with one upholding the highest ethical standards. And I'm thrilled to be here today at your summit to meet with others on this mission. We have a unique opportunity at this juncture to make history, to make decisions that will have worldwide lasting impacts, not only on our national economies, but on the world as a whole. This is why the UK is dedicated to working with like-minded partners globally in setting the rules around the development of the use of AI to benefit our economies and societies. I'm focused on relationships with our European friends, inspired by our shared vision, history, and values, and will do everything I can to continue that close bond between the AI ecosystem across Europe. We're actively engaged in the development and adoption of the OECD AI principles and their practical implementation through complementary work taking place across G20 nations. In June, the UK became founding members of the Global Partnership on AI, the GPAI, or GPAI, their first intergovernmental initiative with a permanent focus on cooperation for AI's governance and development. I'm fortunate to be a UK representative focusing on innovation and commercialization, and the sessions have been brilliant. Next year comes at a strategically important time when the UK will host the G7, COP26 in Glasgow, and chairs the Digital Nations, all of which will play a crucial role in the development and deployment of emerging technologies, and doing so together. I encourage everyone to focus closely on the successive presidencies as well, including Italy's 2021 G20 and the UK's shared COP26 and Germany's 2022 G7. And I propose we work with the wider GPAI community to ensure our collective work transcends this early progress. There's a clear move we can do together, and this is great potential for GPAI. I know we'll talk more on this later. And so that leads me to say, I look forward to answering some of your questions, and I'm enthusiastic about what we can achieve together as a community. Thank you for having me, Aline.
Thank you so much, Tabitha, for this great speech that packs a punch, and I've picked up some of the things you've mentioned, so we can maybe have a little Q&As, which, to make this to go a little bit more in depth into the things that you've talked about. So I know that the council, as you mentioned, has been working on a roadmap to articulate in detail what's required for the council itself to deliver on a vision for AI, and particularly how AI technologies can contribute to the shared objectives and priorities of the UK government regarding jobs and growth and addressing inequality. And I was wondering if you could just elaborate a little bit more about what these plans are.
Of course. So I was hoping that the roadmap would be out by this wonderful conference. But obviously, we're still, polishing the final bits. And so what I can really speak to is the process that we went through. So when the council was formed, we really wanted more than just the council to be supportive of the government. So we have a quite unique system where we have working groups that are in addition to just the main 23 council members. And so what we did is we went out to those working groups, and we had 450 individuals who fed back on what they thought priorities could be for the government. And this roadmap is really not a strategy document. And I think I've said that twice, but for the government, it's to decide how to prioritize. And so what we've done is really laid out and signposted where we think the focus should be, sort of the where to play, not the how to play. And in the new year, we're going to activate this community further, and we will start workshops, which will be able to then have outputs and actionable sort of asks of the government that can then flow through to the final strategy.
Okay, thanks for that. We'll be definitely following. So, and good luck with the publication of this roadmap then.
Thank you.
You mentioned the GPAI, or I personally say GPAI, but
GPAI, maybe I should say that.
I don't know. There's no set rule yet. So maybe, it's interesting to talk a little bit more about what the UK's role is in this forum, and how it's trying to position itself. And more broadly, what do you think should be the goal of such an organization, and what it should prioritize?
Well, it's got such a big challenge, and on Thursday is the first summit, so I'm hoping that we'll hear then how we should describe it. The first summit with us, all the working groups coming back together, and I think what's amazing is that it has this opportunity, because it's expert led, and it's sort of got a unique perspective because people are coming together to really make a huge difference. I think we have to recognize it's early days, and we're starting to see a clear direction. Some working groups are moving much quicker than others. I've been really excited by what Jenny Tennyson is doing in the data working group. But everyone's going at breakneck speed. I would like to see how we could have some more synergies between the working groups. I think that would be a really interesting sort of gluing force. But also, I'd like to see the membership expanded beyond the developed nations of Europe, North America, and Asia. I think that we are definitely looking to the global south. And I think we should be mindful as we expand the GPAI, who else we should be including.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, very interesting. If that's all right, I'm just going to take one question that I think is popping up from our participants. One question is about, if the UK will continue to coordinate AI activities with the EU after Brexit, the B word.
Yes, of course. I can't speak for the government, but I want nothing more than to continue coordinating, spending time with our European colleagues. I hope that we don't see any change in that. In fact, maybe an increase in how much we work together with our European colleagues.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you. Just back to something you mentioned on, the objective to, I think you've mentioned something like increasing public confidence in the technology, and all parts of society should be made more confident. And the AI Council aims to develop public awareness around AI as a technology and enhance public understanding, and boost that confidence also for businesses, not just in society. Why is that so important? And according to you, what are the best tools that governments but also others can use to ensure we don't fear the technology but embrace it?
It's really tough. You need both an educated population who understands, but also we need the regulation and the government so that they can, it is trustworthy. I think we talk a lot about trust, trying to demand public trust. And Nora O'Neill, an amazing philosopher in the UK, explains quite clearly that you can't demand trust. You must be trustworthy. And I think there's a whole host of challenges that come with that. The UK recently published the National Data Strategy, and within there's a lot of talk about how we can underpin public trust as we're growing this digital sector. In the roadmap, we talk to one of the ways that we can help address this is by giving people the skills that they need in order to understand what is happening. And I think that Finland's Element of AI has done a really wonderful job in that. They had over 500,000 people, go through the course. 40% of those users were female, which compared to sort of 12% of the AI sector is really exciting. And so I think that if the UK could look at doing a similar program, it would really help. It's actually also why I wrote How to Talk to Robots, the book that I did, because I think that there is a lot of women that are being left behind. They're told, oh, AI, it's not for you. Tech stuff, it's not for you. And if you think about even the people at your conference, policy people, I can't code. I'm not an AI engineer, and yet I love, like fundamentally love in my bones now, the policy around artificial intelligence. And I think that what I want to try and show is that people can get involved in this in so many ways, as marketeers, as designers, as writers. This doesn't always have to be something around the technology. And I think that will help us bring people along on the journey as well.
Thank you. I really agree with you. Thanks so much. It's super refreshing to hear, and we should keep on saying that. I have one question from one of our program committee member, Ots Huntag. She's asking, to what extent should China be involved in the GPAI? Because you've mentioned we should expand it, and I think that sounds like a good plan. But what about China?
That's a very good question. I'm always of the feeling of more inclusion rather than less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a concise answer. We have a couple of minutes left, and I just want to go back to a little bit what you talked about, and again a little bit of a Brexit question. So the AI Council focuses on skills in AI and diversity and talent growth. What are the problems that you identify for Europe with respect to the readiness of our workforce, and what are the solutions that the UK itself has been developing, and how can it remain Europe's main tech hub?
It's a real challenge. I mean, we've seen across Europe an increase in number of national AI strategies. So Europe is definitely poised for readiness, but our funding is not comparable to North America and Asia, with $32 billion invested across the whole of Europe compared to 12 billion in North America and 6.5 billion in Asia. And I think that itself is a challenge. What the UK has been doing is trying to really target funding to specific skills building challenges. So we have 16 new AI centers for doctoral training at universities, which created 1,000 new PhDs over the next 5 years. We have these new prestigious Turing AI fellowships to attract and retain top AI professors, 15 new Turing accelerators for sort of early career professors, and then industry funded masters. And really, if we can keep hammering at, and as I said, double down on the things that have worked. One initiative that I think is worth mentioning is our conversion courses. So this was created by Dame Wendy Hall when she realized that a lot of the other initiatives in skills building would only keep attracting the same homogenous type of people. And she really wanted to open up this funding to women, people from BAME backgrounds, protected characteristics, disabilities. And so by creating a conversion course from non-STEM degrees, we were able to broaden the eligibility, which provided 2,500 students who weren't traditionally going to go into artificial intelligence to do so. And half of those are funded, government government-funded scholarships. So the autumn 2020 intake, which was so exciting, we saw 40% of the total students women, 25% Black students, and 15% disabled. And so I think, yes, there's a huge amount more to do, but there's some glimmers of hope where you can see things like that working. We recommend in the roadmap, one of our 16 recommendations is make diversity and inclusion a priority, and it's that simple. We suggest things like benchmarking, forensically tracking the diversity, because I think what's important is that we make data-led decisions rather than just always heart-led decisions. And those two things coming together, I'm hoping will really move the needle.
Thank you very much, Tabitha. It's time for me to move to the next session, but thank you for this engaging conversation, for being here with us today. And it was for me a privilege to exchange with you.
And so for me,
thank you so much.
I'll join the networking later. Thank you so much.
Thanks. To our audience, stay with us. In a minute, we will start our moderating discussions, and I'll be first up to propose to you a great talk with personalities from industry and governments about how Europe can spread the benefits of AI. Please continue to engage on Twitter by using our handle and hashtag data innovation. And you can also look at and fill in the polls on Hopin if you look at the right side of your screen. I'll see you in a moment. Thank you so much for following us today.